cast at the seam, and then I located the area on the tire and drove it through our three-dimensional tray that we have for recording tire tracks, and then I made a cast from the exact same spot. So this is a cast on a flat surface, and this was somewhat of a depression, remember? But it recorded the heel and toe wear on the tire. Heel and toe wear that was on this and on the cast. So it was something physically that we could show that would be recorded from that tire. And also the pitch sequence was the same. Now, this is a Chrysler symbol on the tire. So when we cleaned off the rim, we were able to get this information off of it, and that vehicle was a Chrysler product. So we were able to show that the rim also could have come from that vehicle. And also something else to consider: when tires have been removed from a vehicle, you might be able to find the contact patch for the rim. So that's what we did. We photographed the brake drums that are on the hub there for the tire, and we looked at the contact patches here. We checked the rims themselves. So that's the left front tire. Then we looked at the contact patch for the rim. Going around here, what type of contact patch it would have. This one, it doesn't show up very good. We'll take a look at the next slide. This is the area that would be contacting the rim. There's a little break. Okay, so you can see the contact patch and the break in between. Okay, so one of the rims had that type of quality. And then the left rear tire, okay, we can see that contact patch again. Okay. And then here's the other rim. It's got a solid ring. It doesn't have that, that break in the circle like the other one did. And this is the right rear tire. You can see this tire has had a rim on that's had that contact patch with the brake, but it's also got a little line running through there. So it's had two types of rims mounted on. So we were able to tell which tire could have come from which position on the rim, and also match up the noise treatment on the left front tire and the uneven wear that was on the tire. So that heel and toe wear, we were able to tell which of those tires was probably on the left front tire. We didn't positively identify that tire, but we were certainly able to suggest that very strongly that it could have come from the left front. This is just a vehicle that demolished 33 stop signs in the town of Swan River, Manitoba. The guy was impaired. He just went around town, flattened every stop sign he could find. So the town wasn't too happy about it. They wouldn't admit to it, so called me up. And one of the investigators, he sees the stop sign post that the guy drove over. He drove right up on the stop sign post, and I didn't think it looked very promising at first. And there's a picture of it. But when I looked at it, it wasn't bad. I thought, well, gee, we can see, pitch sequence here, size probably, and maybe there's something. And actually, just by looking at the tires, you can tell which tire was the best one to record a test impression off. And when we did get a test impression off the tire and light this thing with the proper lighting, we were able to find a number of cuts. Find an area on this where the pitch sequence was the same and where there was a number of cuts. So we positively identified that tire. That was a real surprise to me. I didn't have any problems in making a positive identification because of the number of cuts. In particular, there was one large cut here. Very unusual. I don't know how it occurred, but can you see it there?
Yeah.
I mean, that one cut alone is very powerful evidence. So there was other ones, but so that was quite enlightening to me. That at first glance you suspect this isn't going to be worth very much, and then you get surprised when you start looking closely at some of this evidence. That's okay. That's the Ottawa one that we've already seen. So I'm going to turn the lights on for a second. I'll run the slides ahead to a number of break-ins that were occurring to houses when people were away. And this guy was so frustrated that the police hadn't done anything. He'd been hit 2 or 3 times that he demanded they come out, and they did, and they called me, and I came to the scene to do the tire track evidence. This is an area where the suspect vehicle that had done this break-in to this residence had stopped and spilled some antifreeze solution, so I recorded that because this guy is leaking antifreeze. Collected a little sample of it. Pulled up, stole the guy's gas, went into his house, filled up his tank, and went into his house and stole things out of the house as well. But we were able to get 4 tire tracks at the scene, and they're all different. I believe each tire was different, so this was likely a very old, poorly kept vehicle, not anything of much value, I don't think. And the tire, and the number 2 is a footprint, fairly good footprint. And this is just a close-up of what the tire, now that doesn't look very good, that really dark patch, but actually where the person had stopped and sat there in the snow was a pretty good impression under the compressed ice-like conditions, and he drove off, and it would have been excellent for a casting with sulfur, but I didn't have sulfur at that time. It was before we were using it very much to melt and pour sulfur. But now I would certainly give it a try. Left front, and right rear, and left rear. There you can see the detail, the angle's a little better. So for about an 8-inch portion, I had really crisp detail. Footprint. This is an attempt by the individual to cover up all his footprints by rubbing them out in the snow as he was going back to his vehicle. Okay, now there was a second place out on the road where he stopped and backed out of the driveway and stopped and drove ahead, where I was able to get wheelbase measurements again and track width again. So I had 2 good spots to do it. And these ones were really close to the first ones I measured. This is the vehicle they eventually apprehended, and it was purely on tire track evidence, because they started checking vehicles in the area that were suspicious, and this one had the right type of tire track on it. And also the measurements of that vehicle were bang on what we recorded at the scene. It also had leaking antifreeze around the motor area, which we took a little sample of. Right there, it's the same type as what was in the vehicle, or spilled on the snow at the scene. Similar type. Underneath the seat, when we did a search of the vehicle, we found some Canadian money that had green malachite on it. Malachite green on it? Familiar with malachite green? When you touch it, it turns your fingers all green. This money was marked money from a hotel in Redhurst. And the owner of the hotel thought one of his employees was stealing from him, and he was convinced of that. So we put some marked money in an envelope, and it turns out that this person was really the one that was breaking into the hotel and stealing the money, and his employee was innocent. And so just by fluke, we solved this case by finding the money under the seat, because we had the serial numbers all recorded. And there's the boots that matched the ones. We found those in the vehicle. They were similar, design and everything. And a second pair of boots. So probably he would wear one pair at one scene, another pair at another. A little bit of equipment for siphoning gas. Okay, so this is a shot at the tires. Now you see the wear bar there? You can see where the wear bar breaks through. So that kind of a tire in sand rolling is going to leave a blank spot in the groove where the wear bar shows up. So when you see it on a groove running around really nicely like that, and then you see a break in it, and then if it goes along for a ways and you see another break, that's a pretty good indication of your wear bar indicator. Okay, and these are the tires that are on the vehicle. And then your rear tires, similar to the one we had. Okay, that's just a picture of the same tire when it's wet and when it's dry. Okay, now we're just about ready to break here, but I think I'm going to show Ed these pictures because you missed them. Okay. You didn't see these, did you, Ed?
No.
All right, I just want to show you them quickly because these are what I would say are not easy to come by photographs. It's how a tire mold is made.
Rare.
So, yeah, rare, yeah. Because it's the only set I've ever been able to get my hands on. That is a rubber tooling that a foundry has received from a tire company. Basically, they've got a plaster model that's required to make a tire from the Goodyear or whatever, and they've made this rubber casting from it, and he's putting little sight plates in it. Then he puts it into a core box, makes up a dental stone type mixture, pours it into the core box. Now that rubber casting is inside with the sight blades in it. So he pours that in, and in 20 minutes it hardens, and he pulls out a plaster model, which is like a little plaster portion of the tire. The sight blades will have stuck in that plaster model. They pull out of the rubber tooling.
Oh, they stay in the model.
Yep, they stay in the model. When he retracts, takes the model out. Okay, now there's an example of the sight blades all stuck in the plaster model now. Okay, so he's just cleaning it up and getting it all fixed. He's going to have to make, like for that last tire that we saw where there was 10 models, the guy would have to make 10 of these for one side of the tire and 10 for the other side. Okay, so he fits them all together, and it looks like there's about 10 here. It's either numbered 6, 7, 5, 6, 7. So he's putting them all in the proper order. They're all lettered and numbered. So he's got to fit those in the exact order he was given by the company. Okay? And that's inserting a sight blade where there's a joint. And now we have an inspection of the specifications all the way around to make sure that's just what it's supposed to be. Try to capitalize. And they put it on a table, and they fit all the pieces together now, and everything's all finished and ready to be poured. So we've got half the tire sitting there made of plaster. They drop that coat over top of the whole thing. They pour the molten aluminum alloy into the riser tubes. The stuff will flow all around, rise in the tubes, and feed it as it cools. Then they lift that thing off after the recommended hardening time, and the plaster all breaks up, but the casting is in there, and they'll take a high pressure spray hose and clean everything off, and they'll end up with mold rings. Two types, the segmented mold on the left, and the conventional mold ring or clamshell full circle type on the right. The one on the right costs about $20,000, the one on the left about $40,000 to produce a finished mold.
The one we just saw made was like the one on the left, right? Segmented?
You mean that they poured? No, I think it was the one on the right.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was just a half a tire.
Oh.
That's what it looked like to me. So they would just take two of those rings on the right. In some cases, they just take two of those and take the second one and put it on top, and you've got a full tire. It's cheaper to make that tire. In some cases, though, they have to make different molds for each half of that segment. It depends on the manufacturer's procedure. Then this is just a cleaning and finishing of the molds, the mold rings now. They got to machine the back of it to get it just the right dimensions. Okay, that's a finished ring. This is stretching it to get it to the exact diameter, if necessary. Sometimes the stretching isn't required. This is a mold back. I'm going to machine that out and put the mold ring into it. Okay, that's a little bit of the tread ring fit in for the contour to make sure it's just right. Now they're going to drill some holes so the two halves will fit together, and they drop the mold ring in now and they'll bolt it in place. There's no sidewall plate here, so that's a generic design. That means they're going to be able to put different sidewall plates, screw them into place, and change the name on the tire. So that mold can be used for different names on it. Now they are screwing them in, put some sidewall information on. This is a radial tire here, radial passenger tire. Okay, they're putting the sidewall information on. Now, final 3 slides are just inspection of the mold before they send it to the factory. Once in a while they do something wrong and they have to scrap the mold. Okay, that's it. So I wanted you to see those, Ed, and you kind of missed that.
What do they do with the molds when they're all done with that series of tires?
With that series of tires, they get destroyed. And if the tire is a big seller, it stays, the molds, sometimes the molds will be used so much that they have to be replaced anyway. They get worn and, or they have to be touched up a little bit. But when that series of tires goes out, the mold gets destroyed. Or it might be sold.
They sell it to some other manufacturer?
Yeah, smaller company. But some tires, if they're really big sellers, they'll stay on the market for a long time. And the molds will be in use for a considerable amount of time.
Now, the original rubber that they've got that they make the plaster from, how is that made? Is that hand machined?
That rubber tooling?
The original one, yeah.
Well, originally they got a plaster model that the company has made up. Okay, Firestone or Goodyear, this is the way it's been explained to me. They will make a plaster model and supply it to the foundry. Then the foundry will make a rubber casting from it. Whatever rubber mixture they mix up, that they pour over that, they'll cast that. And they'll use that rubber tooling to make about 27, 28 plaster casts. Then the rubber tooling apparently gets distorted a little bit. So they scrap that and make a new rubber tooling from that master model. So it's a very precision process that produces molds that are identical. So that 20 molds of the same size and design will produce tires that you couldn't tell apart. Okay, we are going to take a long lunch break now. What time do you think we should come back, Karen? Is team number one? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just take, this is the left rear. I'm going to go right to the end of the impression. Just press down like that. See that X marks the spot. Then go to the front. We've got a little bit of a dip here, so it might make a little difference in our wheelbase. Shorten it up a little bit. So just let the tape lay on the ground when you're doing it. No, I'd let it just lay on the ground, I think, rather than pulling it really tight. Just let it lay along the ground and take the reading from the support. No, if you pull it tight, it'll probably shorten your reading up.
County worker that's going to...
Okay, so I'm going to... Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Yeah, the frame's rigid, so pull it tight. Okay. Makes sense. Just pick it out. This you're going to have to do after you get your photography done, okay?
Right. I want to see you cast.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, you have to do
I
photography.
think this would cast, believe it or not, but I don't know how good the results would be, but I think you could get a cast of this. Your dental stone would have to be very runny, and I'd start pouring it here and just let it flow over that.
Wow,
I would
really?
pour it right.
And what we were talking about spraying it too.
Now, you all set to do your measurement? Try not to walk on the track.
Actually, I like it. It's big. It's long.
Yeah,
The shoe prints right there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
well, no.
Depends. You're not going to use that for casting.
Yeah,
You're going to use that for casting. You have to measure first. But be careful not to damage the pressure.
It's on direction of travel.
Right on the leading edge. Good. Okay, now do one along the inside like this. You've got an X, right? Okay, same thing on this side, on the inside edge. It's going to be a little tricky because it drops off. So you're going to have, yep, right there. Now do one on the inside there and give yourself an X. You're gonna double check there. Good. Yeah. One thing I want you to measure here is measure. Is this team ready? Yeah. Okay. This one's a little tougher. You've got a rock there to deal with. Okay, so.
There you go.
You know, this is not my right side. This is not my good side. Look at this.
That's the front
Redo it.
back width on the turn.
Then this one.
4 feet, 1/8.
Yeah. You know, I never thought about that.
Usually it doesn't fully
We've got a secondary up there if you want to try and get it. Okay? Then once you back up and stop, so go to the right.
Let's do the rear tire on the turn. He's saying that shouldn't turn.
Yeah.
The rear tire.
Okay, now. Yeah, that. Probably me. Okay, now you got this one. There you go. It's not bad.
4 feet, 9.
So you're able to get a spot up there too, eh? Yeah, that looks like you'll get a good measurement there. Probably even a little better than what we had. Did you notice the track width much narrower?
Yes, it went from 4'9" to 4 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, 8 inches.
8 feet
9
9.
inches, hard to believe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, now this one's right on top of the rock. This
Right at 8 feet 9, huh? Right at that spot.
This is 9 feet 1 1/4.
like if it's This is the left side now. Okay.
Right.
Okay, take your finger out from underneath. And just lay it flat. Okay. 9 feet, 1 inch.
You got 9 feet 1 1/4.
Okay, let's go back and do this one again. And take your finger out from underneath the tape. Try and get the same spot.
10 feet 2.
Make sure nobody has their hands under the tape. Oh, whoa, sorry. Sorry, Ron. All right. All right. Okay. Okay, I get 8 feet 11 and 3/4 inches. Okay. So that's very close to what you got anyway. Which is this one right here. Yeah. I got to get out of your light there, Ron. Okay, good. Okay. Yeah, 4 feet, 11 and a half. 4 feet, 11 and a half. We'll convert that to inches later. Okay, now let's try the back one. Right or left? This is the front.
That's a front.
Front. Okay, so let's try the this one. Okay, center rib to center rib. So just pump it right down in the middle of that center ball rib. Right in the middle of this rib. Okay, take it over just a bit. Okay, that's pretty close.
4'10" and
4'10" and 3/8. 4'10" and 3/8.
being so precise.
Okay, so that's 4'10" and 3/8. You have to link down. 4'10" and 3/8. If you want to try and get some measurements back there. Oh.
Well, you know, when you go back and measure them.
Trying to get a front track lift there, right?
Yeah.
Just to see.
Just to see. With the tires turned like that, eh?
Yeah.
Put them in those field kits. 4 feet.
Okay.
Where's the center of this? Is it on the screw?
On the screw.
On that one. Oh yeah. 4 feet 10 and a half.
It's a little smaller.
4 feet 10 and a half. Okay, a little smaller because the tires return.
You got the center groove.
What'd you get up there where the tires were straight?
this goes first,
Ken.
just a tad longer. The right side.
Very, very last
We're not
little
measuring.
trace.
We're measuring this
Something that's not too deep like this.
We're not measuring back here.
Even though it's very far.
You go at right angles.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty
See how
good.
that kind of takes me?
Yeah,
Okay, so that's
right there. That's good. So, yeah. By right angles, I mean, so and that's pretty good. I mean, don't go at an angle like that.
Oh.
Try and square up, and then you got to do the inside edge. That's all there is to it.
You just had it.
Okay, wait.
That's just to give you a reference point to measure from. Okay, and do the same thing at the back.
How about giving me a tape?
Go.
All right.
That looks good. Now you've got to stretch. Keep your fingers out from underneath the tape if you can. Pop it down in the spot. Hold it. Okay, now we've got to take a reading on that. Linda?
This is right side.
Yeah.
And we have 9 feet, 4 inches and a half. It's like
9 feet, 4.5 inches.
Yeah.
112 and a
To
half
the right side of the vehicle.
Okay.
Okay, the other side. Oh, it's quite a bit shorter, right?
Yeah.
9, what do you got?
Five, 8.
9, oh, you got it? Got it
Right.
straight? Okay.
Oh, 9.
9 foot. It's close to 1 inch. 9 feet, 1 inch. That's pretty darn close. 9 feet, 1 inch. I don't know if you could say 9 feet and 3/4 of an inch.
Want to get the track up here?
Track, yeah. So we got to go across.
Wait a minute, we gotta look for the center.
Yeah. The simplest thing to do here, if we've got all our photography, might be just to see this
center ridge.
Yeah. See this center groove here? We have a center groove though. So what I could do is go right down the middle of that center groove and give you a mark. Like that.
Okay, well, it appears to be a ridge
Yes.
when you're looking at the negative.
Yeah, that's pretty good where you've got it.
Should be over.
So that's 5 feet. Well, try and go up here, right
Yeah,
angles.
pull it tighter.
Oh, okay, I agree.
Okay.
All right.
So what we found
5
was,
feet,
this is
9 inches.
straight.
9 inches.
5 feet 9 inches for the front track width.
Okay. To the back.
Rear track width.
Right down here.
Yep, right down there. Yeah.
You got that, Mark?
Pull it tight.
So we got basically 5 feet 8 inches.
Okay.
Okay, we want width of tire.
That's the tightest you can do, eh?
I had to pull out because they were in the way.
Oh, okay.
You're going to try to run over it.
Yeah.
If I could get everybody on that side of the road.
Everybody over here? Okay, the trouble is I hope we don't get mixed up with all these tires. We'll do it, and then we'll do another one after. We'll do 2. Okay, so are you ready to measure this one, the turning diameter? Okay. And then Well, Craig, it's your team that was doing it, eh? Okay, we'll get you to do the second. You record this. Okay, so we need the large tape. Who's got that for your team? Okay. I think we'll start at this end because we've got a nice sharp edge. Okay, so we'll give it to Michelle there, and I'll go across. Just hold on to that thing. Watch you don't step on the tracks there. Now, do we know which is the one she just made? This one?
This is the outside.
Okay, so pick a spot right here. Right about here?
Yeah.
Okay, you can see the lug there, okay?
Yeah.
So hold it right there. And these are the rear tires tracking on the inside. Okay, now, is that tape, will it go out any further than that? Yeah. Okay. Okay, I got rule number 1. Okay. What do you got for,
Nice even number, right?
yeah, well, 30's here. Take 34.
Hey.
No, let's take 36. Okay. Now, you're going to have to find a spot. Pull it really tight. Will you figure
Hold
the
on to it,
answer?
Michelle. They're going to pull it tight.
Okay, punch her into the ground there, Michelle, if you can.
It won't hold it straight. There's nothing
Do
holding
you
it.
think that's about the edge there? Right about there?
Yeah.
Okay, that looks like about the edge of the tire track. Would you say?
Yeah.
Okay, just let go of the tape, everybody. Measurement is 36 feet, half of it 18. So measurement B is 18. So who's recording that? You? Okay. Now we got to go at right angles. So you got to find 16 feet or 38, 18 feet. You're at 36 feet. You got to go at 18 feet. You have got to
Got it?
put that at right angles. The simplest way to do it is change positions.
Yeah,
You
because
go
that has to be origin.
16, because he's got to move the tape back.
18.
We're switching.
18, I mean. You go to 18 there. Hold the 0 right on the 18. Okay, now, you just move this thing back and forth. Looks like 9 feet right on.
9 even.
9 even.
We've got 9 even.
Oh, wow.
Come on,
Tough man. Tough man.
At right angles? Okay, so we got 9 feet. So we're going to have to convert everything to inches, I think, to use that formula.
Oh,
Oh, that'll
Oh, I
be
guess.
9 feet and 18 feet?
Okay, we'll do the feet. You can leave it in feet then.
diameter.
Absolutely. So do you want to try it one more? Should we try it once again?
Yeah.
So B squared.
Okay, let's do it a second time.
squared.
Okay.
B's 18 feet.
Okay, so
Lower this.
let's roll up that tape.
Michelle's got
Yeah,
a
just try and go
calculator.
slowly this time with it. Doesn't feel intimidating. Such an intimidating person.
Actually, I feel stuck.
Lock the front
Go
door.
back.
Lock the front door.
Okay, I'm going to back up.
Okay.
For it.
Original number is
20? Or 4 and 3/4.
that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Too close to the same.
Oh, yeah, this is
But you can tell which one. That's just like glass.
Okay, another team with tapes, please. That outside edge of the thing. We'll walk it across.
No, it's a rear tire. It's a rear tire. You can do this.
Yeah, but
Front tire's
The outside one. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, 38 feet.
Yeah. Michelle, we did
Now we'll pull it back.
Swing the tape.
Yeah, I would figure wait till he.
You hold it tight.
They're doing the front.
Yes.
All right,
are you guys doing the front tire or the rear tire?
front.
Yeah, that one.
The outside one. That's 38.
Well, why is the
Okay, just relax the tape.
Okay.
So the reading is 38, half of that is 19.
Can't come. No, no.
So we gotta go,
It says right rear.
Go that way. Go that way.
we gotta find the 19.
That's the right part of the measure. It's the same over
Because
here.
that's what you're looking for. Is
Yeah.
Okay. Go at right angles.
Yeah.
90-degree angle to that tape.
this was your track right here.
Which was the front?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes like
Yeah, I
this.
think you watched it.
Rear tire.
This time we
Thank
got
you.
10 feet 5 inches.
Oh, that's right, the inside.
But mind you, we picked a larger number. So
That's right.
10
Yeah.
feet 5 inches. Okay? Got that?
Yeah, that's right.
Good. What?
19.
19 squares.
Well, we got 10 feet 5 inches, so we're going to have to convert the inches here.
Okay, she can handle that.
I think
most blood
stains.
Okay, who's got a add this? We can mark this down. Okay, so what have you got for?
And then,
Okay, what is 19 converted into inches? Okay, what do you get there?
I'm helping
There it
Michelle.
is, here. 19 times 12 is 228. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
10 squared.
Is 1194.
What's the
10.5.
125.
Divided by A, right?
125 inches.
Divided by A.
Okay.
18.
Divided by A.
19.
A was what?
38.
So this was B squared. A was what?
125.
What did we get at that? 10 foot 5? So how many inches? 125. 125. Okay, so what's this divided? Divided is 415.9 plus 125 equals what? Okay.
Multiply 12. 45 feet.
Okay, first of all, what was it? Okay, well, we know it's 45 feet
Times
is the
12.
turning diameter. What did we get the first time? 45 feet. We got 45 feet both times? Okay. So now what we got to do is go back and see what I got in the computer for the turning diameter. Okay?
Okay.
You got
You
it?
got 39.
Oh, when you did that? It'd be okay to put in there. It'd be pretty close to the manufacturer. Or you can go right to the manufacturer and ask them for that specific vehicle. Search for unknown vehicles, that's what we're going to do. You've got measurements at a scene. You can retrieve data on a known vehicle. Like if you have measured up tracks at a crime scene and the investigators say, well, we've got a, and you haven't done a search at all yet, they say, we've got a Buick Century, 1991 Buick Century as a suspect. Is that close to what you measured? You could call Roger Bohaus and ask him to run it, and he'd do a printout on Buick Centuries for you. Yeah, search the vehicle and then compare it to what you got. You can do a reverse search. You can edit records, delete records, append data from JADO. Now, append data from JADO, that's when I get the disk, the new stats on it. Stick it in the floppy drive, and then press 6 and it'll add the data. Update the database for you.
Does JADO stand for again?
I'm not sure. It's the name of the company, JADO Dynamics. That's a company that, global company that collects data on vehicles, sells it back to car companies, so they can keep an eye on competitors. Yeah. So I'll press 2 for search, and we're going to do imperial, so this can convert from metric to imperial. So I'll press I for imperial. And now requesting agency will be, what's your initials here? San Bernardino?
SBSD.
S?
B.
B?
S.
S? D. Well, I think I'll make that capitals. S, D, S, D. Okay, and then you put your file number in. This is our section, so you could add your section there, or it'll be Michigan PD, and their file number, and reference S, D, S, D, workshop. Whatever you put in there comes out on the printout. Attention, wherever its name it's going to. Search for cars, trucks, or both. You can do the search, but I usually search separately, cars first and then trucks, so that they get their truck printout all together and the car printout all together. So, did you guys do the truck or car?
Car.
Often they might tell you whether they think it's a truck or a car. Somebody might have seen something in the area, leaving the scene, or they might know from what was hauled away that it was a truck. Lots of times they'll tell us they think it's a truck because of, but we'll search both, okay? And sometimes the search of both will tell you whether it's a truck or car, because you won't get any cars, you only get trucks, or you only get cars and no trucks. So last 15 years, we'll go back 15 years. You can go back further if you want, or if somebody's seen a vehicle and says it was a 70s model or an 80s or a 90s model, then you could search just for those years.
How far back was your database?
1971. So it goes back 20 years. Wheelbase that you guys had for your average?
106.3.
106.3 was your average. I'll go plus or minus 2 inches. So that's going to search from 104 to 108. And front track width?
58 3/4.
58.75 then? Half, plus or minus half an inch to start with. What else? For the rear?
Rear track 57 even.
57 even, so I guess it was narrower. Now when you see a rear track that's narrower, it's an indication usually that there's no error in there. You know, the rear track tends to be one you can get a little better handle on, and the front track sometimes turns out narrower if the tires are turned. So we don't know if it's front or rear wheel drive or four-wheel drive. Right now the only thing we could search is four-wheel drives. We've got the four-wheel drives in there, okay? But the front and rear, we weren't collecting that back in the 80s. Now for the 90s, we're collecting front and rear wheel drive, so that would really cut down your respondents if, you know, in 10 years when this database is got that kind of information, and it would really cut your respondents down. So hopefully we can keep getting that kind of information.
How are you going to determine that from
Manufacturer. Oh, from spinning at the scene? If the investigators...
if you get
Yeah, the investigators at the scene know that they're dealing with the front tires from the turning and everything, and they can see spinning and digging of the front tires and the vehicle gets stuck or something in a certain area, you know that's a front-wheel drive vehicle.
If you don't get it, you don't know.
Yeah, if you don't get it, you don't know. Just leave it, I'm just going to leave it out. Turning diameter, I'm not going to enter that. Body type, we're starting to collect this kind of data. 2-door, 4-door, 3-door hatch, 5-door hatch, station wagon, convertible. Pickup, 4-door pickup, van, 4-door van, 5-door, and that kind of thing. So actually, if somebody spotted a vehicle and you just wanted to search for MPV vans, multi-passenger vans, you do that. Tire size, and you'll notice all the newer vehicles from 1990 on, they're going to start giving you the tire size. That might be helpful if you went to a tire dealer and he told you if you gave him the photograph and the width of the tire, and he says it's got to be this size of tire, he can sometimes tell you that. Then you can look on the printout to see if one of your vehicles has that size of tire on it. It might be an indicator for you. It's not definite. None of this is definite. Counting number of vehicles. So, see, we might get 0 hits because we might have been off in our measurements, and there's nothing that's close to it. But I doubt it. Sometimes that happens.
We weren't out.
Sometimes we get 0 hits and we have to keep going wider because it's an oddball vehicle and there's hardly anything close to it. It's all by itself in a certain area, and until we widen up, we don't hit it. We've got 93 vehicles. Okay, so this is what do you guys have? Buick Century. So
What was the white one?
Buick Century. Okay, so that size of vehicle is pretty common. Okay, so you're going to get, there's lots of stuff in there that GM's making around the same size, and maybe Ford too. Report to screen 1. I'm going to report to screen because we don't have a printer. Sort by model. They'll start coming up on the screen. Now normally we send this to a printer and print it out and give it to you. Now this isn't by order of preference. This is just alphabetically, okay?
Ordered by our preference.
But you see a lot of, there's 93 vehicles there, but a lot of them are Buick Centuries. For year after year, they haven't changed their measurements, see?
I think it's an 88 or an 81.
And we got a Buick Skylark. Chevrolet Celebrity, must have the same frame. Chevy Citation, probably. So we got Buick Skylark, Buick Celebrity, and Chevy Citation so far, 3 types of vehicles.
And Celebrity, Chevy Celebrity.
Okay. All I'm saying is there won't be really 93 vehicles. There's an Eagle, so every one of these is a possibility.
Can you have it give you the closest match?
No, you just go down the list and look for the measurements that are the closest, but I wouldn't rule any of these out within 2 inches. We've only gone plus or minus 2
It
inches.
must have been a Mercedes.
Oh, it's a Mercedes, sure.
Now, those ones, I guess out here, you could get somebody committing a crime with a Porsche or a Mercedes.
Oh,
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
Back where we are, it's not as likely.
They have one in
There's a Peugeot, Pontiac 6000.
GM uses the same body for.
Yeah.
Snow probably doesn't.
What could have really confused you? We have 4 of those models outside.
It didn't list the old Cutlass Supreme.
Well,
Right
it
next.
must be not that
Cutlass here,
close.
Cutlass here was,
Cutlass here.
Was yours up there?
Oh, was it a
no, we didn't
Sierra?
have it, but when the Cutlass here is it listed, and it was a shorter wheelbase.
I don't know if it was this.
Yours is a shorter wheelbase than the Cutlass here.
Oh, was it?
Cutlass Supreme.
Okay.
Cutlass Supreme was
So
just-
if it's not within 2 inches, it won't come out. Not on the first search. Now, if that was a murder, I'd probably print that list, and then I'd do a wider search. And print it again and give them a real string of vehicles that they can just put away in the file and use as reference in the future, Now, some people find this type of thing really helpful, and others they get discouraged as soon as they see a big list and they say, oh, that's no good to us. Well, I don't think it isn't any good. I think that it might be a little lead for the right type of investigator that's gung-ho, just gives him a little somewhere to go if he's got nowhere to go and he's completely baffled. If he wants to start checking people in an area that have certain vehicles, he can. Or if he wants to go back through old files and see people that have been interviewed and what vehicles they had, just to see if it comes up. So. Now, that's that one. Okay, so 3, change query conditions. We're going to do a second search. Okay, who's next? Ron. We'll try yours. What did you have for a vehicle? Notice, oh, by the way, we didn't get any trucks on that search? No cars. Okay, what'd you have, Ron?
A Cutlass.
Okay, and what'd you have for a wheelbase, average?
108 and 3/4 inches.
108.75 for an average? Okay. And how about a front track width?
59 and a half.
59 and a half. And for your rear track width?
58 and 3/4.
58.75. So it's a little narrower in the rear. What?
Normally, is the
since,
rear wider? Or is that not true?
Not necessarily.
Did you see the list?
Since we have both wheelbases and each side different,
Which one would you use? I'd take an average of the two. What have you got? Is that what that
I
is?
gave you the average.
That give you the average? Well, that's fine. That's what I'd take. If you have two, one for both sides, I'd take the average. If you only have one side, just use the one side. Okay, so what was that vehicle again?
Old Cutlass?
You had the old Cutlass. Okay.
So you would not want to average left and right wheelbase.
Yeah, you would.
You still would? Even though with the front wheel drive, they'd be different? They could be different? The left and the right side?
Yeah, I'd still average them. Yep.
Just for purposes of the search.
Yeah.
They're not going to be significantly different, to your knowledge?
No, because one might be closer than the other. Or your actual wheelbase might be right in between the two. Because if the tires are turned slightly, your measurement might be longer on one side and shorter on the other, so you average the two.
On your, in the database, since that film indicated that one wheelbase might be different than the other, are you guys going to be inputting left and right wheelbase? Understand what I mean?
Yeah, no, just entering what the manufacturer gives us.
So the manufacturer is only giving you.
He only gives one wheelbase. But whether they're the same or not, I don't know. I'm not sure that they're that much different, but that's what they said in the video. But the manufacturer only gives one wheelbase.
I wonder if these are correct.
Maybe they just figure one of them is close enough. They don't worry about whether there's a slight difference. I'm not 100% sure that they differ from one side to the other. I'm just going by what that guy said. This thing is looking for those 6 vehicles, and you said you had an Olds Cutlass? All right, so it's got a Mercedes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is there 5 there?
Yeah. One more chance.
How lucky do you feel?
Yeah.
O comes after M, could be.
No. Okay, we're going to go. Okay, that's search number 1, okay? So we can't just leave them with that to investigate because that might be very misleading, especially only 6 vehicles. So press any key to continue. We're going to go back to 3.
Widen it out.
And this is something I always do anyway. Well, we got a Toyota Land Cruiser, so it could be a Toyota Land Cruiser. You sure you have that? We'll go. I'm going to go 4 on the wheelbase. That might be too much. I doubled it.
Maybe they'll include their car.
I doubled it, and I'm going to go 1. And I'm going to go 1 inch. Would you like me to go back up and go 3 inches on the wheelbase?
Yeah.
Okay, we go 3. Shall we go 1 inch on the track width?
Yeah.
Okay. I doubled that. But I only went 1 extra inch on the wheelbase. If we get 6 again, we'll redo it and go 4. But we know that you're not very far off from that big less than 93 because your measurements weren't that much different than theirs.
Right on. Yeah, 2 inches actually.
An Olds Cutlass, eh? Ah, 202.
What car?
Change the query conditions quick. There's all those beads again.
Notice how fast they come up when you get a bunch of them?
Yeah.
When you don't, it takes a while for them to get them. I hope that Olds Cutlass is in there.
Well, the regular Cutlass is
Did it have
Do we have to give our pin back if it's not on the
They might just say, oh, we'll just go with the short list. Dodge Aspen. So we're not getting very many trucks anyway. Gee,
Not as many.
202 Ford Granadas are in there. Even older ones, eh?
Does everybody say that?
Jeep Cherokee.
All Canadians say that. All
Do they
Canadians
all
say
say that? Yeah, they do.
What?
Eh?
Yes.
I mean, you just
Because everybody else says it. I just copied
But no one's ever figured out how they started like in 1800s.
No. No one's ever figured out why.
You know, Liz, some people say yep.
Yeah, I guess they do.
say beast. Yeah. I'll say A.
Yeah.
Some say B.
Olds Cutlass, where are you?
Hey.
If only we knew that was the real
Is
deal.
that what it is?
It's a Sierra, I think.
No, Supreme.
Is it a Supreme?
It would have the same. It would have the same frame on it anyway.
Now you know you don't have to be so careful in your measurements because you're going to put in a 6-inch gap.
Now, before you go to the next, I'm sorry. Can you go back the
No,
screen?
no, unless we did search over. Why? What were you wondering?
Well, I was looking at the wheelbase. The wheelbase was 107, and they said 108, so that was within the 2 inches. I
The
was
track
wondering-
width was out.
Right.
Your
I wanted
wheelbase
to
was
see
good.
how far off.
The track width must have been out a bit.
Wow.
So if you did another search with the same wheelbase with the same 2-inch parameter, but changed the track width from half an inch to 1, you'd probably cut down.
Yeah, if I stuck with the wheelbase and didn't widen the track width, I would get less respondents. Or if I widen the track width and left the wheelbase the same, I get less, but you don't know. You don't know which is out. So I always have to widen both. Because you never know. And you never know which vehicle on there might be the right one. You just sort of pray that there won't be a whole lot of them. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes there aren't very many. This time there's 202. There's 2 lists, a short one and a long one. But it goes to emphasize the point that the short list isn't necessarily the best one. So it's an investigative aid, all right, and it gives you an idea of what vehicles.
It's a rover. Sure, it's a rover.
Also, you know, it makes you aware of whether, you know, that you shouldn't get too hung up on the fact that this vehicle is matching your measurements, because a whole bunch of other ones do too. You know, that's not that big a deal. Okay, it's important, but there's a lot of other vehicles out there sometimes. If you've got a real common vehicle, and if you're asked the question, you can say yes. There are a lot of other vehicles manufactured in the last 15 years that are close to that.
15 years.
Be honest. Going back 15 years. Now, if somebody happened to spot a vehicle and could date it for you, you know, like give you the last 5 years, it's going to make a big difference. Okay. Now, the next group. Okay. Susan, what did you have?
Wheelbase,
Yeah.
122.625.
0.625?
Must be a truck.
0.625. I'll make it 0.63 then. Okay? And plus or minus 2. And track width?
Right
Front.
front is 56.25.
Oh, I better go back and make that 0.5. Okay, how about the rear track width?
56.50.
50.
Yes.
And we'll run that and see what we get. How's that, Trevor?
Two.
Come on, be there.
Did you feel lucky?
Yes.
No, you couldn't stop it.
Come on.
You're not that good. You're not that good.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Wheelbases did you average? Did you average 4 measurements to get this, or just 2?
We just averaged 2.
Okay.
This is the one you got off the vehicle?
Or first inch. An inch.
It might not
Oh,
be.
yeah.
But at least we know there's not a lot of vehicles in that, right?
Come on.
Well, your list is going to be very long. Hey, it's taking a long time. It might be going after the T's.
Yeah.
All the way to T.
You go. That's it. Go ahead for you go.
A Zamboni.
There's only a few of those.
I'll bet that's
These
not
dog
database.
I wonder.
Not even in Canada.
Oh, yeah.
Look what the wheelbase was. It was 121.8. You got 122?
What year was it?
Mine's actually 92.
We don't have 92 in
Wrong.
there. 92's not in the system.
Yeah, the
It
only
will be.
The only difference in the specs is that the wheelbase is actually 121.9 on mine. The other 2 measurements are the same.
Geez, the turning diameter, they got 519.
The turning
So
diameter?
that's 519 inches. Convert that to feet.
What's
Divided by 12.
Well, we
We got
covered ours
540.
to
Tire
inches,
size.
it's
Tire
540
size.
inches.
It's
Was the last one you gave me?
It's 43?
43 something.
Okay, 43 and a quarter, and we got 45. See, so we're larger. It could actually turn less than that, but she didn't want to break her steering wheel.
Well, there still might be slipping in the dirt. too.
There might be, making it a bigger turn than it really was.
Yeah.
Okay, but still, that means that we would accept anything less anyway.
Yeah.
Anything under 45 we're going to accept. It may be up to 46 or 47 is still close. You know what I mean? You got to accept anything because you don't really know whether that vehicle has the tires turned tight. It could have been a vehicle with a 35-foot turning diameter. It just
Yeah.
didn't.
If we had
So
measured,
that's not that great big a deal.
if we had measured 38,
You could have ruled this vehicle out. 38, I would go as high as 40, 41 maximum, but not all the way up to like 43, 45. You could say it wasn't a Toyota. Or it would be the short wheelbase Toyota instead of the long wheelbase.
Wow.
Yeah,
So as we widen this up, we'll get some more.
It's a big difference in tire size. Does it make a difference in what you measure too? I mean, if you had big off-road tires on it versus highway tires on it, I don't think you could, make a difference.
I don't know if that makes a difference because it's a geometric. Yeah, it's the ratio. It's always the ratio. So you're good at that kind of stuff, Steve. Think it can make a difference?
no.
Okay, I'm going to go a little wider on this and see what happens. We'll just do one more search. Change query conditions. Because this might be one of those vehicles that's kind of all by itself, and I love these searches. When I get the measurements and I feel good about them, and I search quite wide and still don't come up with much. Because then I can go wide and you pretty well know the vehicle you're looking for. Sometimes that happens on a search. Go 6 inches, plus or minus 6 inches, and 1.5 inches, 2 inches on the track list, and we still only got a couple of vehicles. So either we don't have it in the system, or else it's one of those vehicles you don't have very many to look at, and that happens once in a while. Yeah, DeLorean. I don't know if we've got DeLorean in the system or not. Yeah, we could call it up and see. 20. Okay, so we went, doubled everything. Doubled everything and went 20. So report to screen.
Michelle, I'm glad you're doing so well. I'm really glad you're doing so well.
I think you're stuck.
I found a home for you.
Yeah. Crime scene.
No, we're going to teach everybody else how to do these measurements.
Oh.
No, just use the Toyota one.
Just make sure Karen's available when you're running the course. It's too bad we didn't have a small vehicle too.
Yeah.
Like I suppose if we had had a real short wheelbase one, like her Suzuki Sidekick. You got a Suzuki Sidekick?
It's a Samurai.
Samurai. Yeah, that would have been fun to do and see.
Oh, yeah.
See
And watch
how
it,
many.
and watch it roll.
Okay, so we got Jeep Isuzu and a Jeep Comanche
All trucks.
Passport pickup. Passport.
Passport.
Passport. That's. Yeah, there's the odd vehicle that comes up in this that you haven't heard of. It's a pretty extensive list. But that's a vehicle sold in Canada and probably the U.S. too. I've never heard of it. I'm not familiar with the Passport.
How many vehicles do you have in the system?
There's the Toyota. On the system,
Yes.
I think there's 6,000. There's over 6,000 vehicles in this database. Okay, now one left to do. Okay, Linda.
Our average was 110 inches.
110, 0. Good.
Front track 69.
69. Wow, that's wide. We aren't gonna. And 0.5. Oh, darn it, I made a mistake. 0.5. Oh, it's okay. And the rear?
68.
68. Okay, what was this vehicle?
It was the GMC van.
A GMC van? Do we know what year it was?
It looks like a 77.
77? A 77, so this is the guy that commits a crime with a really old van.
Which is every year finds some in California.
They're square.
Well, which is a lot.
And a lot for you guys too.
My roommate had one. Oh yeah, it was very cool.
And with all the windows.
Yeah, it probably magnified it.
What's that?
We were wondering how much data or memory this program
You found me.
How much memory does this take, Karen?
Pardon?
How much memory did we use up loading this program?
The program that runs the vehicle search is using slightly over 2 megs. The VIN search program uses 1.8 megs.
Okay,
And you did load it on our computer, right?
Yeah.
And it's not leaving, right?
The computer's not leaving, but it is not staying on that
Oh,
computer.
it's hard.
It will move to another computer in the building. It
Yeah.
will not
great.
be on this computer.
Okay.
Oh, so Craig is going to have
Thanks,
this.
Craig.
You will at least have it current until
Till
the last
now.
time Lawren updated it.
Is that something, this whole program is something available to?
The RCMP program, I can provide to you, tracks the program that's running this. The database, Michigan State Police have given me permission to, to make copies of their database for other accredited law enforcement agencies. But the JADO data, which is 1990, 92 and all that, 91, 92, you have to buy that from them.
From
So I'm
Michigan
not-
or Jada?
No, from JADO, you have to get that from them.
How much is
So
that?
you wouldn't be able to leave that on your system.
Well, you'll delete that part out, won't you, Craig?
Yeah.
How much does it cost to update?
You'll delete that, right?
Oh, yeah.
What?
How much does it cost? See that with the speaking.
They charge $1,000 to provide you update.
A year?
Man. Oh, what a racket.
Yeah, they sell the system to car manufacturers for $25,000
Well, pitch
a
in.
year. They sell them a whole
Yeah,
package. So us, they're just giving us a little bit of their data, so they charge $1,000
Sell a lot of
per
these.
work. So you may as well just use Michigan, right?
Yeah.
Long distance phone call once in a while. Now, we pay them $3,000 a year, so we have 3 workstations. But, we're trying to provide them a little bit of revenue to make it worth their while to give this stuff to us. Because it costs a lot more than $1,000 a year to try and collect it all and enter it.
Right.
If you had somebody dedicated to trying to get this.
You guys
Okay.
blew it.
We got no hits here. Now, I don't know if this system, if this vehicle's in the system. It may not be, but we're going to go wider. Okay?
Didn't you say that some vans and trucks are not in the system?
Yeah. But let's find out. 3, change for
No, see, that's,
That's right.
it's right at the 15-year.
15-year limit.
Oh, that's right.
Expanded a couple
Oh,
years.
maybe I should go a little bit older.
Go to the 20-year limit.
Okay, I'll go. Whoops. You want me to go?
From beginning?
Let's go. Well, you said 77. Why don't I go 1975
Okay.
to 1992? Okay.
There's no mileage. We can't get rid of it until it gets 120,000
Now,
miles on it.
this time I'm going to go 4. This time I'm going to go 1.
What are,
See, we
And the only
checked the
reason-
actual van, we're off by half inch on both tracks.
Yeah, well, this is what I'm saying. The reason we got to miss 0 first time, that doesn't discourage me. Because your measurements might be a little off, and it's just a matter of going wider. So there's no problem there. Because actually, even if I didn't go back far enough, we still should get a 78. If it was
Well, they
made
didn't change that van.
Yeah, they probably didn't change that. So I got a feeling it's in there. It's just that we're a little bit off in the track, but that's what I think. Could be.
Well, we know from the van itself, we're off a half inch.
Is that right? Okay. Usually you can get within a ½ inch, but we're dealing with dry powdery sand there. A little hard. Okay, we got 35. 2, report to print. 1, report to screen.
Gosh, man.
So here's our first short list.
Your Chevys.
now, would
Yeah,
you
what was
expand
it? The GMC?
Would you expand it beyond the 4 inches?
Chevy van. That's the nice thing about searching vans, I find. Is you get van. Because vans have, you kind of know you're looking for a van.
Oh, yeah.
Every Chevy van ever made.
We only got 35 vehicles there so far.
Yeah.
This is a specific Chevy van because it doesn't have that long a wheelbase to it.
Well, it listed both the G10 and G20,
Like
G30.
110 is not that long.
That's the short ones.
So you'd be looking for a Chevy van for starters.
There's a GMC.
Yeah, well, the GMC and the Chevy is the same thing. So we may get GMC coming up if it was entered. But we haven't hit it yet.
I don't think it is. How many is it on the screen? About 15?
We might have them all now, 35. So the GMC, yeah, that's the end of the list. So the Chevy van, that would be the same frame
Yeah,
as
if you get a
that.
Chevy, it's a GMC.
Yeah, they're interchangeable. So if you're looking for a Chevy van, you're looking for a GMC. I wouldn't rule one out. Same with the trucks. The GMC trucks and the Chevy trucks, they tend to have exactly the same measurements. So I'm not sure whether they Michigan entered the specs. So, or else we can run it a little bit wider and see. End of,
Can you enter Dodge van and see if that comes up?
Why?
Like you said, just see if it's in there.
the Dodge van?
The GMC.
On the GMC.
Oh, GMC,
Yeah,
yeah.
rather than run
Rather
it
than-
wider,
right.
go into the vehicle.
Right. Go to the vehicle. See if it's in
Okay.
there.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll run it wider first, because that's what I normally do. I get the one list is 35 vehicles, then I usually run a wider one. And if we don't get it, then I'll go for GMC and see what we get. So this I'll go 6. I'll go 5. Well, we'll go 6 and see what happens. And we'll go 1.5. 1.5. Okay. And then I'll go back and I'll call it GMC.
Call Dodge.
But if I'm not mistaken, GMC and Chevy, they use the same frame, don't they?
Yeah, same frame,
Just
same line.
slightly different body stops.
Same line.
So I'd be surprised, you know, it should have come up too if it was in there. 38? What do we have, 35? We got 3 more. So we went quite a bit wider and still only got... So it's an indication that, you know, it's kind of, well, that it's all, you know, these vehicles are sort of in an area by themselves as far as measurements go.
Which is, they should be 10, 20, and 30.
How many are we getting on a page there?
Oh.
Well, 16. So we must have 32.
So I'll do that.
Yeah. I think we just got a couple more Chevy vans, didn't we?
Yeah.
I think that the latest that went up to was like 82 or 83.
Well, isn't, the 30 is the...
We might have
Chevy
some
and the
GMC
35
vans, but we probably don't have them. We're sure that's GMC, are we? Is that what's set on the front?
Yeah.
Well, see, a 30 is a Chevy, the 35 would be the GMC, I think. That's the difference.
You could be right.
Isn't that right?
I don't know.
Run out there and go see.
Karen, that van, that was a GMC?
Oh, I didn't look at it.
Karen.
Oh, she's going to go check this out. Okay, we're going to run GMC.
Well, I remember it's GMC because we...
Run a GMC.
With the hubcap as a GMC.
Isn't he a rat
We
rabbit?
need to change everything.
Run a GMC.
What are you doing on your trucks? Yeah, but all 4 of them?
Someone else.
All 4 of them are GMCs. Because that's what we did with measure at least to this.
Okay, what year?
77.
GMC should be okay. Model, I guess I'll just put the word van in there. Look, it should search for anything that has the word van in that field. Zero. Okay.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to come back here. And delete the year. Oh darn.
See if there are any GMC vans in there.
Yeah, I'll just see if there's any GMC vans in. Or anything like that. Four.
Did it pop up? The
No.
GMC Endura 25.
Yeah, see, well, see the 10 series, the 20 series, and the 30 series were all on there. All that is there.
Well, we know we don't have very many GMC vans in there. I guess all the entered was the Chevy vans. They didn't do the entries on the GMCs maybe because they felt it was the same.
Yeah,
10
but they
series,
did
you have to
like
have 20 series,
automobile and concrete.
Yeah, I know.
30 series.
I don't know why they didn't. They might not have got the measurements for GMC. They might not have been able to get them from General Motors.
I think you deserve a credit on your $1,000.
There you go.
Well, there you go. What was your wheelbase?
110.
110? So the 1980 van's 110. But you see what we're missing?
Yeah.
We're missing the track widths.
Oh,
We don't have them. So Michigan couldn't get it. Otherwise, it probably would have come up.
So if you search 1980 and you entered the
If I entered-
arc widths,
No, if I go back and I search 110 inches for trucks, plus or minus what they gave me, and leave trackless out, I'd get these GMC vans along with the Chevy vans.
Yeah.
okay, but if you entered the front and rear track widths and the wheelbase, you wouldn't get anything.
That's right.
You'd
They
have
won't
to-
show up.
You'd have to enter just the wheelbase
Yeah,
because
because the track
it
width field
throw
is
out
blank.
the track widths.
They didn't have the track width, so they didn't put it in. So now I know what it is. I guess I could add it. But actually, the Chevy Vans was the same vehicle.
Right.
That it was just a different body on the same frame. So,
Well, see, they have two wheelbases.
so if you were looking for a Chevy van, you're looking for a GMC van too. Don't rule it out. Chevy or GMC, like it. It's like Pontiac and Chevrolet. A lot of their models are the same, aren't they?
Yeah.
Are these specs listed in the manual of the car?
In with the car. But a lot of the older stuff's hard to get now. But the new ones that are printed for a car, if you go to the dealer and you get a pamphlet, brochure on it, the measurements will be there, probably. But not for the trucks. The trucks, they'll give you the wheelbase, but they won't give you the track width. Because it's not important to them, I guess. But in the cars, they usually give you all three in the little brochure. So that's it. Now, let's take a look at VIN Assist. Okay, now,
Yeah, what's the shirt?
What was it?
what was the directory for that VIN one that we made for VIN Assist?
The
VIN
directory is
Vin edit?
I believe.
VINEDIT? Okay, and
Command was Vin edit.
VIN line? VIN lin?
No, I think it's Vin edit.
Okay, let's just have a look here. VINLE. VINLE. Okay, this is the program you're also going to keep here. I can give you a copy of this because, and then you just write to these people for updates, and they put you on a mailing list, and they'll automatically send you a new update disk for your computer whenever they get new ones. So all it is the screen comes up like that, and let's say you're checking out somebody involved in stolen auto theft ring. You take a laptop computer to their parking lot, where their car lot is, and you just enter a serial number. Here's one we took off a Mercury Marquis. 1 M E B P 8 9 3 9 F G 6 2 4 8 2 9. There you go. It does a calculation on the serial number and tells you whether that serial number is valid. It tells you the country of origin. It tells you the manufacturer, vehicle type. It tells you the body style, a Marquis Brougham 4-door sedan, in case they pop the serial number off a 2-door sedan and put it on a 4-door or vice versa, because they'll often do that when they have stolen vehicles. They'll get a serial number off a wrecked vehicle in a junkyard that's similar and pop it off and put it on. And it'll tell you what size engine should be in the vehicle. It'll tell you whether the VIN number is valid, what year manufacturer, plant, assembly, and whether the serial number is in range. And that's all there is to it. If any one of those numbers is changed, you'll get some sort of indication. So it says confirmation. You can go back to the company for confirmation. Okay, let's change that number just slightly. 1 M E B, and instead of another P, I'm going to put another B in. B 8 9 3 9 F G. So we tampered with the serial number a bit. 6 2. Now 4 8 is what the number is. I'll make it 4 6. See if that makes any difference. 2 9. Okay. So it says digit undefined, and it says check digit error. So all I did was change a couple little things. People, of course, the people with stolen vehicles, they don't know that a lot of them, that if you change a little thing in there, there's a calculation that this computer is doing with that number, and it doesn't come out what it should be. It gives a check digit error. And also it says line undefined, the line of vehicle doesn't make sense. So you have to take a good second look at that VIN number. It's a pretty good system. There's a heck of a lot of serial numbers in there. Every one they can get their hands on for every vehicle that's manufactured going back a long ways. And they update it. They update it as soon as they can. So like really current vehicles won't be on there. Like 1992s that were just made in the last 3 or 4 months won't be on there.
Your insurance agent has it too when you call in to get your new car policy. They have that. They know which class to give it. Mm-hmm. I know that I had that problem with I bought a new Astro van that was in a special model. It wasn't in there. They kept coming up no hit.
Okay, yeah, so insurance companies will probably have the same program. If you get a vehicle, it's seized, and you run it to see if it's stolen, you don't get a hit on it. And you take a look at that serial number, and you're a little suspicious about it, you can run it with this program, and it'll tell you whether it's a phony serial number. So it might be a stolen vehicle that's had the VIN changed. That's it. So, are there any questions that we have from what we did today?
What's the country of origin on Canada? Is it 3?
I'm not sure what the number would be. They've got a bunch here. I've probably got some manufactured in Canada. I'd have to run these to see. There's a Plymouth here with a number starting with 2.